Welcome to the Talk with a Doc show. Today, we're talking about how to beat stress. So we're going to talk about what are stress hormones, how does diet affect our hormones, how to eat to beat stress, and then some stress-busting foods as well as supplements. But before we get started, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Shireen Banakter. I am a corrective care chiropractor and a functional nutrition and detox specialist. This is our weekly podcast, or you could call it a recorded video for YouTube. For those of you that are not following us on YouTube, this is done as a video as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to follow us. We have a Twitter account, we have YouTube account, we have Instagram, Facebook. So please make sure that you follow us. In order to follow us, you just type in Dr. Shireen Banakter, or you could follow us on www.harmonywellness-frisco.com. So Harmony Wellness Frisco.com, and our podcast, our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram, it's all there on top of the page, so you can follow us on those channels. You can always subscribe, so this is a subscription alert. Make sure that you subscribe to us. This way you get notification on when the new videos are out or new podcast is out. And we really, really appreciate it if you could share our podcast and our YouTube videos with anybody that would benefit from this information. So we're here to build a community of inspired individuals that would like to further their health habits and bring wellness to their lives and the lives of their loved ones and their families. So let's get started. What are some stress hormones? And how are we going to eat to beat stress? But before we get started, let's talk about stress. The stress is a major issue. Everyone deals with it with one way or another. And chronic stress is a problem like never before. That's why it's so important and so vital to make sure that we keep our stress hormones in check. So what are stress hormones? You hear me on the other podcast talking about cortisol. And that's normally on top of everybody's list when we talk about stress hormones, and for good reason. It is a primary stress hormone after all. So it's released when we're under pressure, and that triggers our fight or flight survival response. So when we talk about fight or flight or stress, ancestrally, when we were stressed, we would be stressed because a tiger was chasing us, and we had to either stand and fight the tiger or be able to run away from it. But our bodies, even though our stress, the form of our stress has changed, our stress response has remained the same. So whether you are dealing with a tiger, a boss that you can't get along with, a spouse that is always stressed out, you have kids, you're working outside, you're working at home, you have a deadline that's due, or you're in school, your stress response, our stress response has remained the same. So it still uses the hormone cortisol. But cortisol isn't only a stress hormone, and truthfully, it may not even be the most important stress hormone. That title of a stress hormone really should be going to insulin, because and when I talk about insulin, a lot of people immediately think, oh, diabetes. But insulin is related not only to weight gain, to diabetes, to polycystic ovarian syndrome, to testosterone, to low testosterone like erectile dysfunction, and of course to blood sugar level. In addition, insulin can affect almost every hormone in the body and certainly has a major impact on stress. So oxytocin is a master hormone. And if you could consider oxytocin the dean of the university, the professors would be insulin and cortisol, and then the student body would be the rest of the hormones. So yes, oxytocin is really important. That's a hormone that is created by touch and by love, getting and giving love, which is why hugs are so important. And then it's insulin and cortisol, and then it's the rest of the hormones. So the other stress hormones besides cortisol, what are they? There are things like adrenaline, norepinephrine, or catecholamines, or vasopressin, or CRTH, or ACTH, or gonadotropins, or thyroid hormones, and growth hormones, as well as prolactin. So what are the biggest things that we could do in terms of our diet, in terms of our nutrition, things that we can control that could help us with our stress response? So I guess the best question to ask is, what is the biggest thing in terms of diet that is really throwing our stress response off and it's throwing us out of whack today? And I'm going to say that the number one spot goes to sugar. You know, that brain fog that you're feeling after you're eating, or you wake up and you're not quite clear, the memory loss, the increased risk of dementia. It's all coming from a diet that is too high in sugar, that creates insulin resistance, which later on means that we have a harder time using glucose that we already have. The second thing that is really destructive to our hormones is continuous eating. So we do not allow our digestive system and our insulin hormones and our pancreas to have a break. Snacking can wreak havoc. Now, I say that with parentheses around it, because for some of you, because of what's going on, it may be necessary to snack, but for most of us, it really is not. Snacking actually, in a long run, creates insulin resistance, and it creates a roller coaster of hormonal imbalances. So I guess we like to know what to eat, and let's start with the number one thing. The number one thing is, please break up with sugar. So really eliminate as much of the sugar and the syrup that is in your diet. Number one is to practice intermittent fasting. There are many benefits to intermittent fasting, and that includes helping to manage stress. Going without food for an extended period of time really puts the body in ketosis. It switches us from glucose to fuel the brain ketones as brain fuel. You want to always make sure that you have at least 4 hours in between meals, so that you need to get your body sensitized to glucose again and to insulin again, and shift to using ketones for fuel. If you are going to go keto, a lot of people have heard about keto, they want to try a green keto diet. That is the one that creates the most amount of metabolic stability and hormone balance. And we will talk about that. It has its entire video dedicated to it. We will talk about that. But for the purpose of today, I want to go through a list of things. We want you to monitor your pH. When we talk about pH, that shows us how acidic you are. You could be a vegetarian and still be very acidic. So when you monitor your urine pH, then you know exactly where you are as far as acidity goes. And then we have to work with you to decrease that acidity. One of the best ways to decrease acidity is to decrease the amount of carbohydrates you're having, to do intermittent fasting, and to eat lots of green vegetables. Now, you want to pinpoint out your stressor. It's not just about eating. Sometimes maybe it's about who you're eating it with, so that are completely stressing you out. And you'll know that if that's the case, it doesn't matter how amazing your food is. We really have to look at your outside stresses and manage those for you. You want to avoid toxins. We really are, or what we eat, we really are what we eat eats. That's what I want to say. It's important to consider not just what they ate, but how they lived and how they die. That comes into play with additional stress hormones that gets into your system, and how that can really affect our physiology. So you want to avoid foods that are sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, along with animals that have eaten food that contains harmful toxins. Why? Because those toxins will enter our body, and they will create what we call endocrine disruptors that throws out our own hormone balance. And then we want to make sure that we don't eat really late. Really eating after 7 p.m., our body is going to increase more of that insulin hormone as much as 30 to 70% compared to the same meal that we eat before 7 p.m. That is huge. So we want to try to eat before 7 p.m. Now, what are some of the things that you could do with respect to your supplements? Well, eating lots of dark green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, kale, beet greens, Swiss chard, collard greens are great. Taking a lot of healthy fats like olive oil, avocado oils, MCT oils, coconut oil, wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, bison, those are great. Taking omega-3 fish oils, make sure that it's high quality and it contains EPA, DHA, and DHEA. Taking adaptogens, things like maca root, ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginseng, astragalus, and even turmeric are great. Taking some melatonin supplements, I'm going to say that in the parentheses. I really want you to, if you are considering taking melatonin, take it under supervision, because taking too much melatonin will actually decrease your own melatonin production. You do want to take a great magnesium supplement that really not only helps with the sleep, but it also helps with magnesium deficiencies. And a lot of us here in North America are magnesium deficient. And you want to take a great vitamin D. One of my favorites is pure vitamin D. That's a liquid. Each drop has about 1,000 vitamin D. And depending on where you are in the world, you want to make sure that you take a vitamin D that is in accordance with the environment that you're in. So again, this is a Talk with a Doc show. My name is Dr. Shireen Banakdar. Please make sure that you follow us on media channels, like us, subscribe to us. I'm a corrective care chiropractor, a functional nutrition and detox specialist, and this is our weekly podcast and YouTube video. I hope you enjoyed it. Send us a like if you did, and I look forward to building a community of inspired individuals that would like to further their health habits, bring wellness to their lives and their family's life. God bless you. Remember who you are.